Welcome to a special edition of Dub Nation, the official show of the Utah Warriors of Major League Rugby. Jarom Jordan alongside Banksy here in Zions Bank Training Center. It's better than being outside. But we got a special show today because on the program today, we're going to talk about Shaun Davies announcing he has left the Utah Warriors. The MLR final. How about New England taking out San Diego? Plus, big-time Collegiate Rugby Shield conversation, the premier all-star game in college rugby ahead of the draft. We've got interviews with Albie O'Shaughnessy of Central Washington, Scott Bowers of Trinity Western up in British Columbia, and Nick Colling, who runs the show here with the Collegiate Rugby Shield. He's the director plus assistant general manager for the Utah Warriors. First, we talk about Shaun Davies. Bit of a surprise. Shaun, a really successful player locally at BYU with a couple national titles, All-Americans. Glendale Raptors in MLR, starting scrum half for the United States in 2019 in the World Cup. And then he's been an awesome assistant coach the last 4 years for the Warriors. He announced he's done. That'll be a big loss for Utah.
Well, and I think it's part of the growth process that a lot of coaches and players go through, right? Where he's done some incredible things here and left behind a legacy and a standard and a really high bar to set for whoever follows in his shoes. He will surely be missed and absolutely wish him well on wherever he ends up next.
Yeah, he was awesome. And you talk about some of the most dynamic attacks in MLR the last couple of years, in particular 21 and now 23 this year. That was because Shaun Davies was coaching those guys up. So best of luck to Shaun and his family on whatever the next pursuit is. The MLR final happened on Saturday. New England taking down San Diego with a late try to win it. You got DJ Diesel, a.k.a. Shaq, in the pregame. You got Dropkick Murphys after. That was awesome, and we were hoping for a mega matchup, and boy, we got it. New England winning the title.
And I really feel like it was everything that we wanted the MLR final to be. You know, you had the best team in the East, clearly the best team in the league with San Diego coming in with that matchup. Over 10,000 people in the stands in Chicago, so I felt like the neutral site worked because a lot of fans could plan ahead there. The league could do a better job about putting on an incredible show and creating a great atmosphere with, you know, the big Shakrates himself in there on the ones and twos and the Dropkick Murphys. But the game was really what it was all about, and I really think a new standard has been set for what Major League Rugby can be from both of those teams. It took all 80 minutes to decide that match, and I thought New England Free Jacks were the most complete side through the year, but I thought San Diego had the edge in their playmakers, but it really was the team that made the difference in the end.
Ma'anonu was an amazing player, but the first and last try for New England, tough bobble at the beginning. He goes for a steal, gets past him, and New England ends up winning this one. So we'll see if Ma'anonu continues to play. Was that his last game of rugby? I hope he keeps playing. He's still
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes another year, because in every competition that Ma'anonu has played in, he's won a championship. Whether it was in New Zealand, whether it was internationally, whether it was in Japan, whether it was in France. This is the only thing he hasn't won. So I don't know if he hangs him up until he gets an MLR Shield.
I don't think he wants to end on that note either. I think that wasn't his best performance. He certainly had a million great performances. So we'll see what happens there. But New England wins the MLR Shield, and it's back-to-back Eastern Conference championships. This was a Western Conference championship every year until the last two. But next year, when Utah wins it, it will be a Western title again. And last but not least, the Collegiate Rugby Shield, the premier all-star game. There used to be a couple of these last year where kind of a combine / pre-draft thing where general managers could show up and get to know some of the talent in college rugby. And this year, this is the only one. And Utah's hosting it again Thursday night at 8 Eastern time. We will have the broadcast on FS1. Myself, Mike Petrie, Banksy on the sideline. It's going to be a ton of fun. We had a great time last year. And we've got 50 of some of the best players in the country who will see a bunch in that draft August 17th.
And it's really exciting. It's a great brand of rugby. Think Barbarian style, just throwing the ball around, letting these guys go out and showcase their abilities with the rugby ball. And that means forwards and backs at all 15 positions for 80 minutes. So it really is an electric brand. And it's a great place to see those next rising stars, especially if you're a fan of the game that's just getting into it. Some of these guys could end up being the household names that your kids want to buy their jerseys from here in a couple of years. And a key development piece as well, as we look forward to a World Cup coming 8 years from now here in the USA. A lot of these players could feature as veteran players in that World Cup. So we say it all starts at the Shield, and we mean it.
11 of the 36 picks last year were from the Collegiate Rugby Shield. Like every third pick, we're like, we saw that guy, we saw that guy. It could be a lot higher this year with this being the only pre-draft anything. And to get you ready for that, we've got a couple of conversations coming up here. First, we begin with Albie O'Shaughnessy of Central Washington. Here's our conversation with Albie. All right, now joining us, one of the captains for Canyons. He is Albie O'Shaughnessy from Central Washington. Albie, how's it going, man?
It's good, man. Loving it.
Okay, how's the week going so far, and what are you liking about the Collegiate Rugby Shield?
Yeah, day 2 just finished up. It's been good just trying to adjust to the altitude and the heat up here. But apart from that, it's been going smoothly, you know. Got a good group of boys up here. Everyone's willing to work hard, try and make a name for themselves. So a lot of competition. Just loving it, mate. Yeah, it's good.
Talk about the rugby culture being from from the Washington State and what it's like growing up there and when you were first kind of introduced to the sport to get to now.
Okay, yeah, so I grew up in New Zealand. I've been in Washington State for about 5 years now, just doing my degree at Central Washington University. But yeah, growing up in New Zealand, it's kind of like all anyone cares about. It's kind of like football or baseball over here, you know. Everyone's obsessed with it. So growing up, all my uncles played, my grandparents played. My dad played.
Even the kids that don't play.
Yeah, exactly. They play it in the backyard at least every now and again. So
where in New Zealand then?
I'm from Christchurch, so down South Island. Yeah.
Banksy knows. You lived in New Zealand.
There we go. He knows everything about it.
Yeah.
I don't know about everything.
When you mash up all of these, as you mentioned, guys trying to make a name for themselves, how do you sort of mold that as one of the leaders of your team? Mold that into a team concept of, yes, everyone's out to get kind of their spotlight, but if you mesh into the team concept, you're more likely to kind of succeed this week.
Absolutely, and we talked a little bit about it before. It's all about just kind of sticking to the structure, and your time to shine will come eventually. If you try to do everything by yourself, it's just not going to work out, unfortunately. That's just rugby. It's a team sport. Everyone's going to contribute towards a good game, and then, I mean, everything goes smoothly, you're going to get your opportunity to shine. People are going to see that.
And playing at the Shield is really unique in the entire rugby experience, where most other places internationally have, you know, your local, your regional, and then your provincial, and then your professional teams. So how is it getting together with a bunch of boys you've never met, and you guys are going to have to play a cohesive rugby match coming up here in 72 hours?
Yeah, it's a little
or less.
But I'm fortunate enough to have 2 other boys from my team, so I think they made just coming over here and settling in that much easier. But man, it's a short turnaround. We got 3 days to prepare for a game. Usually takes a whole preseason to get down, you know, your team pattern, your team structure, and everything you want to do. So, but I think we're making good progress. Day 2, I think, picked up a lot from yesterday. Boys are improving, and yeah, we got tomorrow. Hopefully, just nail all the detail. Come Thursday, we'll be ready to go.
Who are the 2 teammates that are here?
I got Marcus Below and Campbell Rock.
Okay, yeah, those are the 3 good dudes. And you guys had a great season this last year. How would you summarize it?
Yeah, I think we had a really good regular season. We took 1 loss to BYU. We lost by 1 point. And then we had a couple big wins against UBC, which is a team we don't really play a lot, but they've been a really solid team for the last however long.
Up in British Columbia?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, British Columbia, and they're one of the top teams in North America, I'd say. So getting a win on them to start the season was awesome. And then we also got our first win against St. Mary's down in California, which was a historic win for us. We'd never beat them before. So that was epic. And then, yeah, it was just BYU had us this year, unfortunately, because we played them again in the playoffs and semifinals. And yeah, they just kind of brought it to us, kind of handed it to us a little bit, unfortunately. So regular season was awesome, playoffs not so great, but.
I know that was an epic matchup, you know, down in Provo, hearing about it. It was like, oh, big one with Central Washington.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it's not an NCAA sport. But Central Washington is one of a couple of schools that it's a varsity sport. Like you guys have scholarship. They've invested in the sport,
Absolutely.
which is awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Just giving boys like me an opportunity to come play in America, which is something I never dreamed of. But the opportunity popped up and I took it.
Hey, BYU and Utah, come on, get on board. Let's go.
Who do we need to call about that?
That'd be awesome. What are you hoping to get out of this experience? And ultimately, I assume it's to be a draft pick in the draft coming up in August.
Absolutely. So we got the draft next month, and just here to kind of put my name out there, make some connections with the GMs, which is an opportunity that doesn't come by every day. You know what I mean? So I think it's a great thing they're doing out here at the Shield, and I'm just happy to be here. So
as one of the captains on your side, who else on your team is really standing out that you would say, you know what, that guy could be something special?
We got a few boys like today. Setu made a big hit up front. That was real good to see. And then we got some real handy boys in the back line there as well. Got Reese there and Seb who are kind of driving the game in the back line, I feel like. Looking pretty dangerous today as well. So, I mean, we'll see how we go. I don't think everyone got to do what they wanted today. It was a short session, but hopefully come Thursday, everyone gets to put their name out there and do what they want.
you scrimmage and practice indoors because it's pretty hot out there.
It is
so
hot,
good
yeah.
luck on that turf.
Yeah,
out there.
yeah, I
Have
know
fun.
it's gonna be a grind, but that's
Hydration
what it's
starts
all
now.
about.
Dude. Hydration starts now. Those cramps come
It
knocking
started
pretty
Sunday,
quick.
man. I got here, got myself a Pedialyte.
That's awesome. Bobby, we appreciate the time and have fun Thursday.
Oh, absolutely, we'll do it. Thanks for having me.
We're now privileged to talk to Scott Bowers from Peaks, hooker from British Columbia. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing well. It's good to be down here in the States, obviously with a lot of Americans rather than Canadians, so it's good to meet all these boys and learn things about how it kind of works down here and get myself into it. So.
Well, and kind of familiar faces as well with, Canadian Ray Barkwell as your coach.
Yeah.
And having a bit of a legend like him coaching the team. How is that working with Ray?
It's really cool. Ray's someone that I watched a lot growing up when I was first getting into the sport a lot, and then my coaches at Trinity Western know Ray well from playing with him or also being his coach in different spots. So it's good to finally meet him, and obviously he plays in the same position as me as well. So trying to pick his brain as much as I can and just learn from one of the best that our country's ever put forward.
He was here last year. He was fun to watch and coach. You got some nice coaches here, which is great. What are you hoping for out of this experience as the only Canadian player in this competition?
Just get more of obviously the MLR's, we got one Canadian team, but it's mostly an American league. So get to know more about how the scene works down here, kind of the difference of how these boys go through the university scene to what we do, meet new coaches and different systems, and just challenge myself to be able to take what I know and put it into those new systems, and then at the end of the day, go play rugby and have fun.
And really, that's what it's all about, right? It's all about the footy. And I feel like, especially being a front rower and being in that position, I feel like in these situations, it's a bit easier to be able to just get in and do your job because you have to get your line out calls right, but you can figure out a line out pretty easy. And then scrummaging is scrummaging, right?
Exactly. Yeah, scrummaging and lineouts are pretty much the same anywhere you go. So that's been one of the biggest things for me in my preparation before coming down here. Is just nailing down my set piece work and the things that I have to do well as a hooker at kind of a specialist position. And then the rest of it's just go play, have fun with the boys. Like we had a Bronco yesterday and some other testing stuff, and it's like, man, that's not so fun. But once you get past that kind of stuff, it's like you just get to play footy, and that's
Bronco
the fun
is
part.
never fun.
Yeah,
never has been, and
no
never
one's
will
ever
be.
enjoyed that ever.
A lot of the boys were saying yesterday, "Oh, are you ready for a Bronco?" No one's ever ready.
For a Bronco.
Well, and half of you boys came up from sea level too, so to do a Bronco at altitude on top of that.
Have you felt that yet? The altitude?
Yeah, not so much while we're training, but I remember when like the first day I got here, I was kind of walking around outside of the hotel. It was like, holy, this is like something that you can definitely feel, and it takes an adjustment, but it's good. We have 3 or 4 days here before we play, from when we got here at least, and a couple more now to kind of adjust, and hopefully by Thursday things will be good to go and boys will be flying and ready to play.
What are you hoping for in terms of getting to know general managers and the draft and that kind of thing or is that down the road for you?
Yeah, no, so I've applied for this year's draft, so we'll see how that goes next month. I think the coolest thing about this opportunity is that you have all the GMs or people from each team here and kind of all in one place, which is something you obviously don't get a lot of, especially for me in Canada. Like we get the arrows out a little bit at the national championships and other things, but to have all the U.S. Teams out here as well, just meet people, make new connections, and kind of figure out how that works is a really cool opportunity that you can't really get anywhere else. Knowing that this is kind of the premier pre-draft event, it's really, really an honor to be here.
And having this kind of combine setup too is really a uniquely American situation, like you said, where Canadian teams typically play in that club system where you work your way up. How has it been adjusting to shining in this very open format? Where you've obviously been picked out by some of the other players and your coach as one of the standouts and one of the leaders.
Yeah, it's a different change, but at the end of the day, like the goal is to play professionally. The goal is to play in the MLR, so kind of just take it how it goes and go through the cuts and just work hard, and then you show up and you play rugby. So no matter how it works, you play provincial levels and move your way up, or you're playing in a draft kind of style thing. Whatever you're gonna do, you just take your chances and then go at it and take the opportunities as they roll on. So.
Certainly, MLR has helped what's going on in North America with rugby. How do you see it as a potential player in the league of 6 years ago? This didn't exist, but here we are. Year 6 just finished. There's a chance to keep playing professionally close to home.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Like outside of the U.S. or Canada, the next opportunities for me would be to move completely overseas and start playing like not even professional, but just semi-pro. So just the chance to be close to home and have that opportunity is something like you said even 6 years ago, or like a guy like Ray wouldn't have even had a chance to do unless he went overseas or till the end of his career. So just to have more opportunities to get more guys playing rugby at a high level week in, week out, it just helps strengthen the national pool and gets more guys. And it's exciting for people like me that there's a chance outside of university to keep playing at a really high level.
Well, and in the back of your mind, is the Rugby World Cup being held here in North America 8 years from now even a thought? Obviously, I think for every player, that's the dream, is to represent your country at the highest level, right?
Yeah, like my thing with even playing pro, or especially if I ever was blessed with a chance to play for Canada, it's a dream, but the thing for me is day to day. Can I work hard day to day? Can I get through the work? And then if cool opportunities like that were to come, that would be amazing. But it is still so far away. That's kind of an outside shot. So I had a big dream. So if that comes along, that's amazing. Hey, but focus on the day to day.
We always say it starts at the Shield, man.
It starts at the Shield.
He's still thinking about the Bronco. Yeah, we got to take one Bronco at a time. Yeah. Well, Scott, it's cool to have you here representing all of Canada, whether you like it or not. You and Ray, and best of luck Thursday in the game.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right, welcome Nick onto the show, who's been running this thing for the last couple of years. Nick, how you doing, man?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's great to be back for this is second year with it, and hopefully this is second year of many.
It was awesome last year, and it's been awesome this week. What have you sort of tweaked and learned from year one that you put into year two?
There's a lot of operational things. Unfortunately, there's some things that we just can't fix. For example, these guys all arrived on Sunday, and just with everything, arrival day is just hard because you've got 50 players coming in, all on different flights that you're trying to coordinate them, not sitting at the airport for long. But like with everything, we did some different things with like lunches and stuff to make sure these athletes are getting what they need, calorie-wise, protein-wise, to make sure that they're performing at high levels, because we want them at their best when they're out there in front of these teams.
Talk about how a player gets involved with the Collegiate Rugby Shield, because I know there are some invitations that go out, but there's also some players that kind of can submit to be available to play, right?
Yeah, so really where we're at right now is everybody submitted an application this year, and we had over 150 people submit applications from across, U.S. and Canada. From that, we take those and we judge them. There's a group of us that includes some people that are MLR GMs, so they're the ones making these decisions come the draft. So they're procuring who they want to see here, which is kind of part of this, why it's so successful, is we're getting these players that already are on the radars of draft teams. So to be here is quite special for these players. There's 50 players here. There's only 39 picks. So there is going to be some guys that unfortunately won't be drafted, but I do feel that a lot of players will be drafted from this event because of those things.
And a player has to have finished at least kind of 3 years out of college, kind of NFL, similar rules.
Yeah.
And last year, 11 picks, most of any pre-draft anything.
Yeah.
But this is the only pre-draft anything now. How many more picks do you expect potentially from the Shield to be in the draft?
Yeah, so last year was the first year of this, and me and Brendan Sparks, we were sitting in Lindenwood. I don't know if anybody's been to Lindenwood. It's in St. Charles, Missouri. Apologies to the Lindenwood people. It's nothing great. And there was a few guys, for example, Gabe Kettering, that was here last year in the Utah Warriors drafted. Colson Warner, who played for the Utah Warriors. So there was a few guys there, but we had to travel all this time, and we just didn't know who was going to be there. And so we said, there has to be a better way. And so that's why we designed it this way of, this is something where we can bring these players into this environment, and they can, it's a low barrier for them. And we really proved ourselves last year of being the best place to go watch these players, wanting to go into the draft and, getting your first looks at the future of the MLR and future of USA Eagles and Rugby Canada.
And we had a nice broadcast last year. The exposure was great. FS1's a big deal in July, and right before the Women's World Cup, about a week.
Yeah. So part of this, operating everything, that was part of the reasons that we are on a Thursday. Thursday Night Lights, it does sound amazing, but we are coming up on some major worldwide sporting events, so it is truly like great that we did end up on FS1 again. We had a good audience from last year, and we hope that with year 2, that's only going to grow. Hopefully that more MLR fans tune in, because you can possibly see your next favorite player for your team.
And I know the estimated audience for that was somewhere near like 250,000 people
Yeah.
just for the Collegiate Rugby Shield. So in growing from year 1 to year 2, how has the reaction been from the other clubs in MLR with getting involved and getting their name out to have a seat in the stands to see these guys?
Oh yeah, so this year it's like been emphatic that everybody's, whoa, we're here in Utah. It's the Brian Windhorst meme. What's going on in Utah? I had to throw it in.
It's a great meme.
It
Call, yeah.
is. So it was one of those. They're like, "What's going on in Utah?" They saw it and they're like, "I should have been there. This is great." There's some, GMs that have been big advocates for us. So big shout out to them. Ryan Fitzgerald from NOLA Gold. He was here last year. He's here this year again. He's been texting me all week. The 4th of July, I was going through my messages. He's texting me, "Oh, I can't wait. I've been watching highlight tapes and I'm so ready. Oh, what's your thoughts on these guys?" I'm like, yeah.
I'm not telling you.
So Ryan's been a big advocate. Mark Carney from Rugby ATL, he's here again this year. Big advocate. He's one of the reasons, we brought in Kurt from last year. Kurt was here scouting with Mark. This year we scooped Kurt up to coach, and he's been phenomenal.
Kurt Coleman, who used to play for Rugby
Coleman.
ATL. Just retired, yep.
Yep. And speaking of that, Kurt Coleman's been amazing, and so has Charlie Abel from the Chicago Hounds, brother of our own Robbie Abel.
So talk about the head coaches. Obviously, bringing Tui back and bringing Ray back. Were they excited when they got the call to come back for year 2?
I never had to call them. It was one of
They
those.
just assumed they were coming
They were just
back?
like, "Yep,
They
this is
assumed
us."
they were coming back,
There you go.
and it wasn't like, yeah, I want to come back. Like, there was never anything formal like, "Hey, do you want to do this again?" They were just like, "Yeah, this is going to be amazing for next year." I'm like, "Yeah, we're ready to go."
Okay.
That's
And
when
I mean,
you've had a fun experience
Yeah.
when even the coaches are ready to come back and run some more.
for sure. Like, it's exciting because this is a great opportunity. We put out some photos yesterday. My favorite was, Ray was over here on the bleachers running through little flip sheets of different plays they're doing. So it's a great opportunity for them to, they're used to having these players for a long time. This is a new opportunity that they get to, they don't get a full block of clay. They get a sculpture, but they get to do some fine tuning in certain places. Which is really fun for them.
And it's almost like a barbarian style format, right? When you get these guys in for 5 to 7 days, you can be a little more creative. You can have some fun with it, knowing the basic structure of the game will be there, but to give these kids a moment to shine.
Yeah, I mean, we just had the 4th of July. Here in Utah, we'll have Pioneer Days, plenty of fireworks going off. But here at the Collegiate Rugby Shield, there will be tons of fireworks. I've been watching some plays. Can't give up too much stuff because don't want to ruin the game plans for the coaches, but there's some fun stuff going to be put out there.
The game plans to score, and a lot. We saw that last year. We saw money under the post a couple times, which was fun.
Allegedly.
Rumor has it.
Rumor has it. We don't even know what country's bills were used. Yeah. No, it was a ton of
It
fun.
was Monopoly money.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for the time. Congratulations on year 2, and we'll see you Thursday.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, excited.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of Dub Nation. We'll see you Thursday night at 8 Eastern on FS1 as we talk to the guys. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And a super unique format, too. I think we're going to get to see and hear a lot more from these players than you normally do in a game. I'm really excited.
With you! On the field!
With us!
Yeah. Last year was hot. How are you going to cope with that?
See, you get to sit in an air-conditioned studio.
I'll be in Austin.
It was 123 degrees on the field last year, and I'm expecting it to be every bit as warm this year.
Mike Lash was there last year doing interviews too. It was a lot of fun. It's going to be great. Check that out coming up Thursday at 8 Eastern. Of course, off-season stuff still coming up. Next show in 2 weeks, we'll talk to you about what Nick Benson, the CEO of MLR, mentioned with regards to some expansion. He mentioned specific cities, including overseas. We'll discuss that in a couple of weeks. Of course, the draft's coming up August 17th as well. And we'll see what assistant coach at some point Utah adds. The kit, the signings in the offseason, it never ends. It starts with the Shield. It never ends, maybe, is the other end of that. We appreciate you tuning in. Our thanks to Nick Colling and Albie O'Shaughnessy and Scott Bowers. For Banksy, I am Jarom, and Nick Benson and Ethan Finlinson, who helped put this on. This has been Dub Nation. We'll see you Thursday night on FS1. Go Warriors.